You say you want love, a real connection, someone who sees you, hears you, chooses you. But when it finally arrives, you pull away, you shut down, you start finding reasons to question everything. It's not that you don't want love, it's that part of you doesn't believe you deserve it. Or worse, you're terrified of what love will expose. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Most people don't sabotage love because they're careless. They sabotage love because somewhere deep down, love feels unsafe. Maybe your past taught you that closeness equals pain. Maybe vulnerability was once a trap. Maybe the ones who were supposed to protect you were the first to betray you. And now, every time someone gets close, your nervous system sounds the alarm. You mistake safety for boredom. You confuse chaos with chemistry. You push away what's good and cling to what's familiar, even if it hurts, because familiarity feels like home, even if it's a home built on fear. Jung believed that our psyche doesn't just forget the wounds of childhood. It buries them, hides them behind our patterns, projections, and preferences. So the partner you randomly fall for, the one who activates your anxiety, the one who feels like a magnetic pull, they're not random. They're a mirror, a reflection of the parts of you still unresolved, the ones asking to be seen, to be healed. Jung called this the anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine. Each of us carries both, and until we integrate them, we unconsciously project them onto others. You might keep falling for emotionally unavailable people, not because you're doomed, but because your own inner feminine doesn't feel safe to receive, or your inner masculine doesn't feel worthy enough to lead with love. So you stay stuck, chasing people who hurt you, avoiding people who see you, and all the while your soul whispers, "This isn't love, this is a lesson." But you don't hear it, not yet, because hearing it would require you to stop blaming them and start getting radically honest with yourself. And if this message is making something stir inside you, then take a breath and subscribe to Unshadowed, because these aren't just videos, they're transmissions. And if this one found you, you're already deep in the work. When Jung talked about the shadow, he wasn't just referring to our anger, jealousy, or fear. He was also pointing to the parts of us we disown, like our need for love, our tenderness, our ache to be held. In a world that glorifies strength and independence, admitting we want connection feels weak, so we armor up. We pretend we're fine. We convince ourselves we're better off alone, but the shadow doesn't stay buried. It leaks out, in the way you ghost someone who gets too close, in the way you sabotage peaceful relationships out of boredom, in the way you chase people who make you feel invisible, just to prove that you're not worth staying for. And the deeper truth? It's not them you're trying to convince. It's you. You're replaying the old story. I'm not enough. I'm too much. I'm unlovable. And love becomes a battlefield where your nervous system fights ghosts from your past. Every argument, every retreat, every shutdown. Not about now, about then. Unfinished wounds replaying in real time. But Jung had a radical belief that love, when conscious, could be the ultimate healing force. Not the fantasy kind, not the fix-me kind, but the kind that starts with self-awareness. Because once you see your pattern, you stop being ruled by it. You stop thinking, "Why does this keep happening to me?" And start asking, "What part of me keeps choosing this?" That's the moment your healing begins. And no, it doesn't mean the work is easy. You'll still feel fear when someone sees you. You'll still want to run when real love shows up. But now, you'll stay, not because it's perfect, but because you've learned how to sit with your discomfort instead of numbing it. Love won't fix your trauma, but it can show you where your trauma still lives. And that's a gift. When someone holds you and your whole body tenses, that's not a red flag. That's your inner child asking if it's finally safe to soften. When someone doesn't chase after you, That's not rejection. That's a mirror showing you how often you abandon yourself. Healing is not about finding someone who completes you. It's about becoming so whole that love is no longer a bandage, but a bonus. Carl Jung didn't promise that awareness would make life easier. He promised it would make life real. And in that realness, you finally stop chasing the love that hurts and start embodying the love that heals. There's a truth so many avoid, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And until you uncover the parts of you that equate love with pain, silence, distance, or abandonment, you will keep inviting in the very thing you say you're tired of. This is where most people misunderstand the work. They think healing is about becoming better, more polished, more lovable. They think they need to earn love by becoming the perfect partner. They think they need to fix their trauma before they can be in a relationship. But Carl Jung would stop you right there. Healing isn't about perfection. It's about integration. You aren't meant to get rid of your shadow. You're meant to become aware of it, to notice how it shows up in your relationships. When you get triggered, when you shut down, when you lash out, when you pull away. Because it's in those moments, the ones you think are just reactions or just personality, that your unconscious wounds are speaking the loudest. Maybe that's the moment you sabotage the relationship by accusing your partner of things they never did. Maybe that's when you ghost someone who actually cared, or when you stay with someone who's hurting you, because some part of you believes that's all you deserve. None of that means you're broken. It means you're repeating a lesson you never got to complete. You see, many of us were taught early on that love equals survival, that if we behave the right way, we'll be safe. So we became pleasers, performers, chameleons. We lost ourselves in the process of being good enough. And now as adults, we confuse control with connection. We try to manage every emotion, predict every outcome, anticipate every need, just to feel like we won't be left again. But true love can't be controlled. It can only be allowed. And that requires safety, not just externally, but internally. So if you keep pushing away people who are good for you, if you keep clinging to people who keep hurting you, it's not because you're cursed. It's because some part of you is still trying to recreate the conditions you knew. Why? Because the nervous system doesn't crave what's good for you. It craves what's familiar, even if that familiarity feels like chaos, unavailability, or confusion. Here's the truth Jung hinted at again and again. You will sabotage every healthy connection until you feel safe within yourself to receive love without danger, until you stop expecting the other person to validate your worth, to fix your wounds, to fill your emptiness, until you stop performing and start remembering. And the remembering goes like this. You were never too much. You were never unlovable. You were never broken. You were just shaped by experiences that taught you to hide your heart to survive. But now you're no longer surviving. You're awakening. You're realizing that the real work isn't about finding someone to love you perfectly. It's about loving the parts of you that once believed love had to hurt. So if you're sabotaging love, don't run from that realization. Sit with it. Ask it questions. Oh, part of me doesn't feel safe in this connection. What am I afraid will happen if I'm fully seen? What version of me still thinks I need to earn love? Because every time you abandon yourself to keep someone else, you reinforce the belief that you don't matter. But when you choose to stay with yourself, to honor your boundaries, your voice, your truth, you send a different message to your unconscious. I am not a child anymore. I do not need to be hurt to feel loved. I can receive love without betraying myself. That's the beginning of freedom, and it's the end of sabotage. So pause now. Feel this in your body. Let it sink in. You don't have to repeat the same love story ever again. You can rewrite the pattern. You can choose peace over drama, safety over chaos, presence over panic. But only when you stop outsourcing your worth and begin the work of coming home to yourself. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So maybe this moment is your turning point. Not because everything changes overnight, but because you chose to look inward instead of chasing outward. That's how we begin again. If you've ever asked yourself, why do I always ruin things when they start to feel real? Then pause, because this part is for you. Carl Jung didn't believe you sabotage love because you're weak. He believed you do it because you're wounded. And until you meet that wound with presence, with awareness, with truth, you'll keep mistaking love for pain and pain for love. There's a moment that comes for everyone doing deep inner work. You start to see yourself clearly, not the version others projected onto you, not the mask you wore to feel safe, but the you beneath the defense mechanisms, beneath the fear, beneath the patterns. And when you meet yourself there, not to judge, not to fix, but just to be with the feelings you were never allowed to feel, that's when everything shifts. Because most people don't sabotage love in the presence of pain. They sabotage it in the presence of peace. Let that sink in. Chaos feels familiar. Distance feels familiar. Inconsistency feels like home. Because for so long, it was. So when someone comes along who's calm, clear, kind, it doesn't feel romantic. It feels foreign, even boring. Because your nervous system isn't calibrated to peace. It's calibrated to unpredictability. This is why healing is not about learning how to love someone else better. It's about learning how to let love in without running from it. And that takes practice. It takes sitting with the urge to sabotage and not acting on it. It takes breathing through the discomfort of being seen and not shrinking. It takes witnessing your own avoidance and choosing to stay. Because love that is true will feel unfamiliar at first. It will trigger every part of you that thought love had to be earned, performed, or survived. But if you stay present, if you stay kind, if you choose not to abandon yourself again, that's when love begins to feel safe. That's when your heart learns a new language, a language where love doesn't yell or disappear, where love doesn't make you prove your worth, where love doesn't leave just because you have bad days. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But transformation doesn't come from chasing or controlling. It comes from presence, from choosing to stay curious instead of critical, from choosing to soften instead of shut down. So if you've been sabotaging love, this isn't your flaw. It's your flag. It's your soul signaling, I'm ready to stop running. I just need help remembering how to stay. And staying isn't easy when the past is louder than the present, but it is possible. Every time you sit with your discomfort instead of blaming someone else. Every time you name your fear instead of projecting it. Every time you speak your truth without begging to be believed. You build trust, not just in them, but in yourself. And a self that trusts itself doesn't sabotage anymore, because it finally knows the difference between a wound and a warning. So don't run from the patterns. Don't hate yourself for the fear. Sit with it, talk to it, walk with it, because love doesn't always arrive in grand gestures. Sometimes it arrives in the quiet moment you finally choose not to sabotage, when you choose to stay. And maybe this is that moment. If something in you shifted during this video, if you felt seen or soothed or even just understood, don't scroll past it. Write it down. I let go. I choose peace. I remember, not for likes, but to anchor that knowing inside your body. Like this video, not for approval, but to make your healing louder than your fear. Subscribe, because this isn't just content. It's a space for soul return. This is Unshadowed, where we don't escape the darkness. We integrate it, and finally come home. See you in the next one.